Good evening, viewers, listeners, wherever you are. Again, it's a pleasure to welcome you to our 121st edition of the Issues Room presentation here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and the Issues Room page. We'd like to welcome you wherever you are. Um, this broadcast is on today, Friday, and today is the 13th of January, 2023. Again, we're moving forward and not backwards. And that's why we continue to come here to have the kinds of conversations that will help, shape our country's future, Liberia. The Issues Room is the alternative social media platform emanating out of Liberia to discuss the trending news, the trending issues in the country, the continent of Africa, and the Black diaspora. My name is Volcano Shelton, coming to away from Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and our Issues Room page. We say welcome wherever you are. It's a pleasure having you. If you're joining us, please come in the chat room. Let us know you're here. We'd like to recognize you because without your viewership, we're nothing. We want you to come in, chat with us, join us, chime in the conversation because everything we talk about is to put our country forward. And again, we say welcome. Let me cross over to Studio B for Moses Sandy, who is all in his grandeur. We're
Yeah.
talking Poipo, the royal color. Uh, Good evening, welcome to our 121st actually edition, this 13th day of January 2023. Good to see you.
Thank you, Volcano. Thank you. As always, it's always good being the issues from. This is where we discuss the contemporary issues that matter most to Liberians and the people of the world. So let me join you quickly in inviting our many viewers out there, wherever you are, kind of do us a favor, share the link. Tonight, the discussion is very interesting. It is going to be informational. It is also going to be educative. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome on board. Welcome.
All right, Moses, we thought to have a series of conversation with key topics, key bullets that correlates with our national elections coming up. Last Tuesday, we discussed mental health and its impact on how voters will select the leaders in the country. When you think on the voting population of Liberia, it comprises more of the young people, and about 300,000 or more of those young people are in peril. Their ability to reason, their ability to think their own future is blurred as a result of the existential themes that they continue to experience. And what do I mean? The politicking of the day, the battle cry, the being in the footer in the Liberian parlance, uh, being in the limelight, want to be around the newsmakers and the newsbreakers and the corruptors of our country. And so they think that they are part of something, but they leave from the streets, all the fanfare, and they go home on hungry stomach, and then they wake up the next day and nothing to show for being in the sun. And the example of what we're going to talk about when people are raving and screaming and yelling about Nathaniel McGill return to Liberia. And one of the things I wanted to say, my next trip to Liberia, I'm going to send $15,000, change it,
Yeah,
and get
mobilize
the people
people.
to the airport too,
Yeah.
because I am a celebrity. I have been a celebrity, and the issues room is a celebrity platform. And so let Volcano Shelton arrive at the airport. Maybe I can pull 10 to 15,000 people, give them 2,000 liberty each. Get them there. Well, welcome, Moses. So let's
Yeah.
go to the trending news.
Yeah, I just want to giggle a bit about what you said.
Oh, but my man, that's the trend.
I
Everybody,
mean, that's what happening, man.
people
That's
people
what
paying
happening.
for crowd now.
Yeah,
you
people
know,
do. Yeah,
people
in
are paying for
fact,
the crowd.
In fact, what they do, they transport the people from place to place. They provide them feeding, they give them pocket change, and I see that as an exploitation of our people, especially the young people who are for a greater extent, struggling to meet, daily needs. So our political leaders are really exploiting these people. Don't let anyone fool you by people trooping onto the airport to welcome you. It means that you are a man of the people. No, the thing is business. All right. So having said that, now let's look at the most important story that is coming from out of
No,
Liberia.
yeah, but before you get to that, I wanted
Yeah,
to emphasize the sad thing here is that the young
yeah.
people who are aspiring to be journalists and all the quack media institutions across the country, no formal training, they don't ask questions, the kinds of questions that people want, to know, answer to. One of the interviews that I saw for the crowd, there was a older man who looked somehow responsible, decent, and educated. And he went to lay the premise that the road has never been built for 30 years. Some of the roads were dilapidated, and Nathaniel McGill came and he put roads, and now the road to market
I mean,
what they call it, the farm to market road, and all of that. So now they can commute. Some of the counties are benefiting. But the question I wanted the journalist to ask, if he consider himself a journalist, how did McGill get the money?
yeah. Where did he get it
Because when
from?
I saw McGill during the campaign, he was nothing. I saw the shoes he was wearing. I saw how disheveled he looked before coming into the state for presidential affairs position. So in 5 years, McGill has been able to amass wealth to build roads
Hmm.
in the country.
Overnight.
5 years,
Yeah, overnight.
McGill was able to make that kind of money if he was working in an honest ministerial position and being paid ministerial
Mm,
salaries with the small amenities and what have you to
it's
build
not
a
doable.
mausoleum for his mom. Before
Even
he even became I'm coming Moses. Before he even became state minister, he's already purchased a 200 plus $1,000 house on the premise he took money from the bank. No,
mm,
people said that those were the money that he was getting from people who he was going to give job to. People were paying 10, 15, $20,000 here and there to work in the we are government.
yeah.
But not only that, Nathaniel McGill has a engineering company. So all of these things is how these guys have continued to hurt our country, but we got the people continue to celebrate them. No one in Liberian term can amass that kind of wealth in 5 years if you're not highly, I'm not even seeing the Babati corruption, highly corrupt, Moses.
Yeah, but look, Volcano, please don't forget about this. All those people who are celebrating the former minister, they need to ask themselves, what is the status of the Rabas International Airport? The road leading to the airport, it is my understanding, the company that is constructing that road, Natana McGill is one of the brains behind that company. Insider trading. That's what he did when he was Minister of State. Diverted resources, to companies that he stand the opportunity of benefiting from. So let's come back to our discussion for the day, the training issue, and this is what I really want us to spend some time on. Last week we came here. Last Tuesday. I shouldn't say last week. Tuesday of this week we came here and reported to our people that the former Vice President Joseph Boakai wasn't doing well. On the 8th, he checked into a local hospital in Monrovia. And he was saying by doctors, it's also my understanding that he was also discharged. Now, what we are hearing from Liberia is that the Liberian government, and this is where again critics of Mr. Weah will always continue to pound on him when he does some of these silly things. Yesterday, the gentleman on Spoon TV, Kev Hassan, reported to the world that he had a conversation with President Weah and the Minister of Finance, Samuel Chue. He reported that he was informed by both gentlemen that in the wake of the former vice president's illness, officials of the Liberian government reached out to the former vice president and his family. They offer to transport him abroad for advanced medical care. And according to Mr. Hassan, uh, the vice president and his family allegedly accepted the offer. However, they suggested to the government that they did not want this information to be made public. That the vice president will accept to make the trip, but they didn't want that in the news. And Kev also said that uh, the minister Chuen and the president told him that they said, well, they couldn't do that for the fact that the vice president is former official of government, a former statesman. The money that the government will use to transport him abroad for treatment will be taxpayers' money, and that could not be done reportedly in secrecy. Now, you tell me, Volcano, uh, Mr. Kef Hansan does not work for the Liberian government officially. Mr. Hansan is a fanatic of George Weah of the CDC. Let's take on the surface that what Mr. Hansan reported is indeed true, that the president and his people reached out. Don't you think it would have been the most appropriate thing to do as a responsible government, as a responsible president, as a president who doesn't rely on gossip, that he calls the Minister of Information and the Minister of Information makes a pronouncement to the people of Liberia that, hey, as a government, we are concerned about what is happening to the former vice president, and we want to transport him abroad for advanced medical treatment. Because you and I know, Volcano, whatever that Mr. Weah and his people are offering to do for the vice president, it's not a favor. It's not a favor. He's a former statesman. He earned it. He earned it. If George Weah falls sick tomorrow, will the Liberian people, taxpayers, will the Liberian people money not be used to help him seek treatment? When Samuel Tua was in a motor accident, his wife is not an official of government, but the government flew both of them abroad and left the security guys that were with them to attend treatment at JFK. Instead of using the Minister of Information to speak to the public on this, Mr. Weah allegedly chose to gossip, to shame the former vice president. That, oh yeah, we reached out, but they said they want to keep it in secret. Man, for Canada, I want to give it to you to expand on this.
We are days coming. All right. What happened to Yuri Bryan? People who serve our country have never been given the right place at the fellowship table, irrespective of the circumstance under which this government is in power. And they all hail the king and all of that. Weah has no comparison to the astuteness, to the education, the experience, the statesmanship of Vice President Joseph Boakai. In fact, he should be privileged and imbued and happy to be in the presence of a man of this caliber, irrespective of him being president, because that's how you get your blessing. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
For him to want to do favor to the vice president, it is entitlement. The vice president should not even have to reach out to the government. The government should have insurances in place, medical, health insurance in place for its citizens. But it should not be a cherry picking economy where you have a Samuel tour of nowhere, of nobody, to take the country's money, get on a charter flight, and go to Turkey and spend close to a month with his wife on the country's money. We can take $92,000, put it in his pocket, and go and sit in concession stands in the stadium to enjoy himself. These guys' days are numbered. And I will say this quick before I move forward. I'm not sure, Moses, if you heard about the prophecy of Archbishop Bacala Francis. I'm not sure, but that little story is coming back. And Archbishop Michael Bacala Francis, peace be to his ashes, in 1999 there was a report of prophecy
Mhm.
when he met with the diocese in the Vatican in
Yeah.
Italy. Emeritus Archbishop Michael Francis in 1991 and 1999, I beg your pardon, to the Vatican made a prophecy. He said, Pope, Archbishop from around the world, and other leaders, I bring you greetings from Liberia. The days ahead in the West African nation look rocky, but we are hopeful it will get better. Advocacy and social justice, as well as freedom of speech, have all been doomed, but that's not what is important. A new generation of young people are gearing up for the change after Taylor, and that's what should worry us the more. They will have a leader of their own from the grassroots who will be the worst the nation will ever see. Many of them, uneducated, will come to government and they will hail him as a king. He will never be wrong. And politicians of the old order will bow to him. All hail the king. All hail the king, they would say. He will rule with iron fist, and Liberia's economy under him will be the worst the nation ever experienced. Though around the world, his celebrity status will swell, but at home will be a nightmare. The worst is not under Taylor. It is yet to come when mayhem will take the land and a dictator will rise, but no one who celebrates him will see by then. They will all be blind and will end up as blind leading the blind. But at the end of that realm, an astute statesman will rise and the nation will prosper forever. So I thought to go back in time because we're reliving history here.
Yeah.
Archbishop Francis had this prophecy. And so for we have to think now at this time that because he sits on the country's money, he can taunt around and fool around with the state's people who are entitled to the benefits and insurance plans should be in place. If we are even wins another 6 years, there will still be an end. The Bible says nothing lasts under the heavens
Of course.
forever. We has a tenure. Samuel Toure has a tenure. Nathaniel McGill will have a tenure even if he went in the Senate. They can enjoy this moment, but it comes to an end. And the people who had nothing and get things by hook or crook want to hold on to it. They want to hold on to it. And so they'll do everything. So I would say that if the vice president family ever even accepted this gesture, considering what happened with the mother-in-law, they should have even entertained that conversation. And whether it's a lie, we'll hope that the vice president family will come out and refute the story and set the record straight. But this is disservice to a person who has served our country. It is his entitlement. The government holds that responsibility to ensure a statesman of his position should get the best treatment. Samuel Toe has not given anything to Liberia, has not demonstrated any service to our country compared to Joseph Yuma Boyka. And that's how I want to end it there. So if Toe can take the country's money and go sit in Turkey on his own volition, things that he went on his own business or he wanted to go speak, he was in his own capacity. He was not representing the government at Lofa Community College.
No, he went to just
Asked to
give a
be
speech. Yeah.
a guest speaker. So he went
Mhm,
in his own capacity. All
mhm.
right. But if he can take the country's money and go enjoy himself, talking about he went to hospital and this and that, then why you want to do for the vice president? Just go ahead and do it. You don't even have to reach out. Listen, there are protocols in place to deal with these kinds of things. But you don't go back and try to make people make fun out of the old man.
Yeah.
Old man doesn't deserve that. His family doesn't. And I don't think that Vice President Boaga don't have friends in places that can fly him yet if they thought that he was in a bad shape.
But
Anyone can get sick, like we said the other day. So
yeah,
I think
remember.
we've gone too far. Let's just push on because our studio guest is here. And let's go into our conversation, Moses.
Yeah.
This past Tuesday, we talked about the crisis of mental health and its influence on our voting population and how it kind of, correlate with our elections. And tonight we're looking at the lack of rule of law. And we've seen the lack of rule of law being pervasive in the country. And so we have a good friend and brother, a former or practicing journalist. Let me just switch us back to uh, our
Good.
a former or practicing journalist, a social justice and human rights advocate, Mr. Alfonso Yeno. Good evening, welcome. Your name is not an ordinary name when it comes to advocacy in Liberia. You've been around a while, but for the benefit of our audience, just talk a little bit, maybe 2 minutes about who Alfonso is, the expertise you bring to the conversation before we start this talk.
Oh, thank you, brothers. Thank you, Volcano. Thank you, Moses. As you correctly said,
You're
indeed,
welcome.
for brothers, we've been in this struggle for a very long time as journalists. You all know, I don't need to tell you, that the profession of journalism is a noble profession. It's a profession in which we do advocacy, do human rights struggle, etc., etc. And that's the reason why journalists and the media profession is referred to as the fourth estate. But you both know that, so I don't need to talk much more about it. And I don't think I need 2 minutes to describe Alfonso Nina. I'm a lifelong human rights and social justice advocate. I mean, coming from junior high, elementary school, and through university, etc. I also had the opportunity of working with the Catholic Justice and Peace Commission, which, of course, you all again work with. What we all worked together at that time, at the founding information office of the Justice and Peace Commission. Honor took a lot of human rights investigations around the country during the height of the Liberian Civil War, reported on it, started the struggle for accountability for human rights abuses in Liberia. I also led and actually set up a program at the Justice and Peace Commission to protect journalists. Because I understand and I remain committed to that. We at the Justice and Peace Commission, we're committed to that. The journalist in
Could you
any.
speak a little? Because some of the folks, probably a
All
little
right,
audible.
I want
Yeah,
to
all
raise your
right.
voice a
And
bit.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
let me raise my volume here.
Okay.
Just a voice.
So
Yeah.
Good.
journalists are the bulwark of any democratic society. Um, as journalists, so I mean, people talk about three branches of government, one holding the other accountable. but journalists and the media profession actually hold all of them accountable, right?
Right.
So that's the fourth estate. We are the nonpartisan body that really does the work of the people that represent the people. So definitely you guys played that role. We've all played that role in the 90s in Liberia. And so I'm happy to be with you all. I've continued to struggle here even after we've all fled from Liberia here. So I've continued the human rights struggle, basically fighting to make sure that those people who were responsible for some of the most heinous crimes in Liberia are held accountable here in the States, in Europe, and everywhere, and even Liberia. And it will also continue the democratic work. I know our topic tonight has to do with elections, so I'll talk very briefly about my role in democracy building and elections in Liberia. So I was the chairperson. I was a founding member and chairperson. Well, first of all, founding member of Leon, which is Liberia Election Observers Network, the first ever Liberian homegrown election education observer network. We're founded in 97. We worked with a number of organizations, the NED, National Endowment for Democracy, NDI, Election Observer Systems, etc. I was chairperson for voter education, Democratic and voter education for Leon. So I traveled around the country for the 1997 elections. If you read the report by the Elections Commission at that time, you see my name in it. You will also see the role we've played. Basically, I got a letter from a member of the election commission who was responsible for voter education, Tia Nangwe, basically commending us for the work we've done. I developed and we printed if you ever saw the poster size ballot paper that was used around the country to educate voters as to how the actual ballot would look like and how they would vote in the country. So I also have a background in election, electioneering, election observership, election planning, etc. So I'm happy to be with you all. I'm sorry if I was boring you,
No, I mean,
and
No,
I
no, no.
and
It's
I was
important. It's important for the folks to know. Quickly before we start the conversation, I'd like to recognize the presence of some of our stalwarts: Raymond Clark, Samuel Abu, Thomas Awaji, Amma Freeman, Flumo Livingstone, Maria Gadel, Alvin T. Penu. We say thank you so much for joining us tonight. Our man, the
Francis.
indigenous Luther, Ambassador
Francis.
Francis Kangoman Duna Senior. Welcome to the Issues Room. Hang here with us, my man. Bloje, good evening. Welcome. Welcome. It's good to have you here, Bloje Kono. So let's start with you, Alfonso. You followed the flyer, and as we're talking, Moses and I, we want to do a series of key topics as they relate to our national elections. Tonight, we want to look at the lack of rule of law. We see a lot of things happening that are in subtle ways campaigning at this time, even though the National Elections Commission seems not to even have its house in order. Many of the things are being delayed, timetable and all of that. We have a fiasco census that's supposed to determine, how we will say this is the population, this is the number of people that are going to vote. So a lot of things that should be of priority, as this year is a defining year for our history, for our country, where it's going to go. And you have the institutions that should be integrated institutions playing around with the interest of the Liberian people, with the livelihood, with the future. How do you make it up when it comes to the lack of rule of law, especially in a situation as that of Liberia? You've been around prior to the Taylor's regime. You were probably around during a portion of Taylor's regime, and you've seen what the lack of rule of law can do. But it's even more damning if the lack of rule of law, continue in this modus operandi and get us toward elections. What do you think the outcome going to be? Uh,
very shocking. First of all, that we haven't done census. Because how do we determine who votes, who's eligible to vote, who's a citizen, who, like, how do we even get to that point, right? And I believe the last census was done what, 2008 or
Ten, that's
1988?
10 years ago.
10
In
years
fact,
ago.
more than 10 years
More
ago.
than 10
Yeah,
years
yeah,
ago
yeah. It was more
because
than
Mhm.
ten years
been
ago.
because it's been postponed several times. So it's more
Yeah.
than 10 years ago. There's a
Yeah.
reason why we do census every 10 years. So according to statisticians and everybody, that's when we get an appreciable increase in the population. And the reason we do census, especially around elections time, is to make sure that people that we are able to identify who's eligible to vote. So we establish the bulk figure of people who are eligible to vote. We make sure we get, and then the election commission and the various parties involved, civil society and partisan political institutions, do their work of trying to reach out to these people to make sure that they register to vote and that they exercise their franchise. And that's really critical important. In the absence of a census, how do we even hold credible elections? That's a major question that needs to be answered. One of the things you talk about, Volcano, is campaigning, you know, and I will. So I'll talk about it this way. There's a reason why we set up rules and laws around the election process. One, so that there's a level playing field and everybody therefore has an equal and fair shot at the game. If the election commission, if the body charged with enforcing the laws is not even following the rules that were laid out for them to follow and that itself has laid out, that undermines the confidence of the people in the election process. Now, this takes us now to the other point you referred to, which is on the flyer: election violence, political violence, but also election violence. How do we get to the point of election violence? We get to the point of election violence through two paths. Path number one: the people in power decide to do things that suppress the opposition, and including violence against the opposition, which we've seen: opposition gatherings, opposition protests, etc. We've seen university students marching to the American embassy being violently attacked. There's been no prosecutions, no convictions whatsoever. Yeah, we've seen in the past politicians holding rallies being attacked. There's no prosecutions, no convictions that we know about. Nobody has gone to jail ever. That's 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 the one thing. The other thing is that when people do not have confidence in the process, what is the process? One, the people who comprise the institution that runs the elections. When people do not have confidence in the commissioners and in the commission, they doubt everything that the commission and the commissioners do. And when they doubt it, they feel cheated. And when they feel cheated, they resist, they fight back. Because at the end of the day, what is democracy? Democracy is governance by the people for the people. If the people feel that their voices are not being heard because they're being suppressed by an institution that's charged with running elections, of course people will fight back. So, these are challenges that really need to be addressed. Unfortunately, I don't see them being fully addressed.
And that
At this
means
point.
well,
Yeah,
that means these things are happening because there's no rule of law in the country. People just do what they want to do. In
precisely.
in a
So
nutshell.
precisely, what is rule of law? We lay down the law and we want people to follow the law. That's the rule of law. That's what the rule of law is. In every organization, that's why we say we have bylaws and constitutions, right? So we have a constitution of Liberia. We also have election laws that should be followed, and we put institutions in place to make sure that those laws are followed. And if they are not followed, there are consequences. In the absence of consequences, or in the absence of the institutions that are charged with enforcing the law, not enforcing the law, you do not have rule of law. And if you do not have rule of law, you have chaos. You have people scrambling, you have people taking things into their own hands and trying to enforce it. You have people fighting instead of simply going by what the rules say. It's like, you know, in Liberia, what did we used to do, right? You go on Broad Street to get a taxi. What do you do? There's no
Fight
rule
for,
of law.
fight for
So
Literally,
we
something.
yeah.
fight. So we fight because there's no rule of law. Here, if you have to get in line, you will get in line. There's rule, you're following the rule of law, so there's order. Same thing with election. Same thing with anything. If there's no rule of law, if anybody can break, if Volcano is running to be senator of Bapolu County and he breaks the laws and he goes with impunity, and I go to court or I go to election commission, I get no redress. I want to break the law too, so I get on an even playing field with a candle because I want that bipolar senatorial position. And what do you have? Chaos and confusion. Democracy is undermined. Peace is undermined when the rule of law is undermined. Uh, Pope John Paul II once said, any society that does not respect the rights of its people and the rule of law puts its own future in danger. And that seems to be happening right now.
Thank you. Moses,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
take.
Look, you guys have already summarized everything that I was thinking about, speaking on. But let me just add on to what the both of you have said. In summary, when we speak of rule of law, we're talking about a system, a mechanism put in place to restrict the arbitrary exercise of power. There, I will not wake up in the morning and just walk into Alfonso's home and take possession of his vehicle and walk away. The rule of law frowns on that. The rule of law holds people who are accountable for breaking the laws. That's why in developed societies such as the United States, for Kano, you and I know, when we are driving, nobody is looking over your shoulder, but they are what? Posted what? Speed limits, right? Whether someone is looking over your shoulder or not, you know that if it is
No,
uh
man,
65
but
miles
you
per
the one
hour,
looking over your own shoulder. You better
yeah,
be your own
yeah.
referee.
Because you just said you tell me yourself, you're looking at your speed limit. If you going beyond 65, you say, oh no, I'm running into trouble. Because you know what it means when a police officer pulls you over. In a society where you do not have rule of law, such as Liberia, when the light turns green, even the guy who the light red is against will still be moving through the traffic. That's why we have multiplicity of motor accidents. Now coming back to the topic of today, and let's look at some key people that are breaking the laws, the election laws of Liberia, and nobody says anything. We will even begin with the chair leader of the Elections Commission, Data Brown. There's a law in Liberia called Code of Conduct that frowns on public officials engaging in acts that compromise their daily functioning. How can you, as head of the Elections Commission, award contract to a company owned by your brother? Does that not equate to conflict of interest? How can the chair of the Elections Commission allow the chairman of an opposition political party, Labour Party, Musa Belede, to go to court and say, "Oh well, I see that you are in legal problem. but I will file a bond for you. Does that not equate to conflict of interest? So if there's anything that has to do with Liberty Party, the Liberty Party wing that is headed by Musa Ability, and that matter appears before the Elections Commission, Volcano, Alfonso, do we expect to have any form of a transparency in that process? The chairleader is already compromised. Now let's take it to the level of the presidency. We had laws in Liberia, election laws, that frown on what? Pre-campaigning. Mr. Weir has already started campaigning. Volcano, do you have a video where the president donated vehicle purchased by taxpayers of Liberia for our traditional chiefs? If you look at those vehicles, they carry the inscription donated by His Excellency George Manuel Weir. Taxpayers' money. 10 vehicles
Love is
to every county. And I mean, 2 vehicles to each of the counties. The traditional chiefs receive what? 2 pickups, 10 motorbikes. Those motorbikes, the vehicles were purchased by taxpayers of Liberia. But if you look at the vehicles, they all carry the inscription donated by His Excellency George Manuel Weir. Is that not thievery, Alfonso?
So the two problems
Does
with that.
does that not equate to diversion of state resources for personal
Absolutely,
benefit?
it absolutely does. Absolutely
Let
does.
me
And
give
let me
it to
tell
you.
you a
Yeah.
story.
Mhm.
Let me tell you a really quick story. Just a really brilliant guy here in the States. One of the best economic brains in America. I believe his name was Allen Hevesy,
Yeah.
and he was comptroller of New York State. Allen Hevesy lost his job as comptroller of New York State and was prosecuted because his wife was using the New York State vehicle to go shopping with the driver.
Yeah.
The driver would drive her to go buy
Sharp.
groceries
Yeah. Mhm.
and go shopping and buy, stuff to put in her house. That was theft of government and
Man,
public
there's
resources.
resources. Yeah.
The driver was paid by the taxpayers.
Yes.
He was being used on personal purposes.
Right.
The government vehicle was being used on personal. I'm saying this to make the point that you said. When you use or you claim public resources or properties for your personal benefit, that's a crime.
It is.
That is corruption, but it's also a crime. To go and take government money, buy cars for people, and say, oh, I'm the one who's giving you these vehicles, these cars. Hey, help me, dance for me because I'm the one who's giving it to you, not the Liberian taxpayers, not
Mhm.
the budget that was made, and not for you to use for these purposes, but I'm the one giving it. It's a crime. It's theft of public resources.
Let me show you. Do you guys see? Do you see this, Alfonso? Volcano,
I
don't you?
see. Yeah, I see. So I never saw those. I've
Yes.
seen them now. Yeah, but but
Purchased by the government. Volcano, not to cut you, Alfonso. I just want the people to see.
mhm, mhm.
Vehicle purchased by taxpayers of Liberia.
Yes, yes,
Carry the inscription donated by His Excellency George Manuel Weir.
yeah,
Thievery.
yeah. It's sad. It's a tragedy in Liberia. There was a time in Liberia, and in the past, but also even recently, when there were certain government officials who, after 5, 6, or when they left work, who packed government vehicles and and use their private cars. Now you go to Liberia, you see government vehicles at clubs and everywhere.
But
And this whole
government vehicle hauling coal,
oh yeah.
government ve-
Never
government
get you,
vehicle.
Obama, man.
Oh, my man, government vehicle going on the
well,
highway
well,
hauling
Volcano,
coal.
you were there the last time,
Oh,
so
but I'm
I
telling you
assume you.
something.
Yeah,
Government vehicle hauling coal, government vehicle hauling cement,
yeah,
government vehicle hauling blocks to build a government official property.
yeah.
Yeah, at
Government
the expense of
official,
the government. Yeah,
government official use the government car for the everyday use.
yeah.
Government vehicle. In fact, this is the picture that is painted. Let me just have my 1 or 2 minutes now. Every drinking spot
Uh,
you can think about, and some of these drinking spots in the country, right?
Mhm.
They are on the road, on the
yeah,
public road. There's no parking space, so these government vehicles line the side of the road, with half of the car in the road and half of the road because there ain't no shoulder.
Yeah,
Right? All
yeah.
the road development, you hear remember we are say he building alley road. There's no sidewalk. The builder road is taking on somebody's fence because the criminality is so perversive that the law says that when you buy a piece of land, you must be 20 feet away from the road, meaning the public road. So that way, if the government has to do any kind of lane expansion, maybe to make a 2-lane boulevard, they can have that wiggle room to do that and put sidewalk. No,
absolutely.
the people ain't care. The surveyor helps the people who buy in the land and sell all the way, and then they bring the fence until it comes on the road. There's no sidewalk. So when the government comes to do anything, if they don't have the money to do eminent domain where they buy, pay back to an appreciable value to be able to do more development, then
Mhm.
of course they will just put a low road in there. And then somebody will break half of the fence and make a drinking spot. And then the fence now is the drinking spot. And
Yeah.
they put the
You
gate
put a
there
little
and the
boot there.
people
Yeah,
come and they
yeah.
just park. So
Mhm.
you want to know where government officials are? Wait until 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. The cars are everywhere in every corner, nook and cranny, drinking spots all over the place. Tell me, what's the accountability?
Yeah.
The
Where's the money?
gasoline that they're giving you, they gave you 900 gallons of fuel. Where are you going? From Pinsville to Monrovia is less than 10 miles. What would a person do with 900 gallons of fuel?
Phew.
Gasoline.
It's
Then
a lot.
also an additional 900 gallons of gas or fuel for the generators at home. Why
Wow.
these people are so evil? And these Liberian children and just jumping and cheering these people. You sitting in front of somebody. My man, you and myself here. You saw me the other day, I had nothing. Then all of a sudden, my man, I'm just wealthy. I'm
Yeah.
just dashing out here. You can ask yourself, but where the man took the money from? Because the only place the man I worked at government. Where
That's
has
right.
did Nathaniel McGill work? Where has Samuel Tour work? We know he was a truck driver here, but
Yeah.
how long did he do the work? Right? Where these
Mhm.
guys work to amass this kind of wealth that they can be given back to the people. But these people live right in the same place with these people. They see the lives from nowhere, and in 5 years, they are somewhere to the point that they are millionaires. And that's the problem. So when we talk, and that example you give, yes, it used to happen in Talbot time, where government officials would park the government car and take the private car to go on their own runs. If you found government car out there, you had it right as a citizen, peaceful citizen, to blow alarm. We called it
Mhm.
blow alarm those days.
Yeah. I
And
like the
you blow
people. Yeah.
alarm. But unfortunately, where we are now, once they give you the car, it's yours. The only time you have to turn that car in when a new man who ain't like you, he friend of the president appoint him, and he want his own man to be his deputy, then he pull fire on you, then they take the car from you. And you've seen that
Yeah.
happen in many of the different sectors. You
Yep.
understand me?
Mhm.
But
Yep.
other than that, Liberia is a crowded ball. They're running a crowded ball government. Everybody does what he or she wants to do.
No
Even
accountability.
if you think about what Moses said, everybody in we are government wants to be the bearer of news to the point that the news that they're bearing or bringing to the public has a dire consequence on their own image.
Of
Mhm.
In the
course.
case of Kev Hassan, if if we are and what's his name, Tua were gossiping to you, you want to come on Spoon to make Spoon the biggest platform and say, oh yeah, the vice president, he's sick, he really sick, and so the president trying to get him out of the country, but it's begging to say you might not make it public. Is that news to run with? Are you the one they put that news in your lap to
Yeah.
say go and disseminate it? Or
So
it was just a conversation?
Volcano,
It was
Volcano,
just
yeah,
so
go ahead.
everybody wants to be a bearer of news. Everybody wants to showcase. Everybody wants to
Yeah,
be the closest to the
yeah,
president.
yes,
Everybody wants to say they have relationship with the president, and
yes,
that's what this president also likes
Yeah.
because he never
Gossip.
comes back and chastise these people. If
yeah,
I come and gossip to any of my co-workers at work that I'm my supervisees, and I hear up there, you ain't fired with me
yeah,
Yeah.
because that conversation should be private.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I saw something on Facebook earlier, uh, from the Ministry of Information, issue a statement saying the government. Oh, we heard that the former vice president was ill, and we reached out to his family, and we want to help. What the heck is that?
Yeah.
What the heck is that?
Why
I
would
mean,
you?
what are you even trying to accomplish? If you reach out to a sick person's family in good faith, why are you announcing that to the world? Are
That's
you?
the irresponsible nature of the
Yeah.
government.
So
They
what
don't
that
understand.
tells me is the happy
They don't
Of
understand
course.
the medium of
celebration that somebody
communication.
is sick. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't understand the power of communication
Yes.
and the impact that
Yeah.
it may cause. You understand me?
Yeah.
And they're not making the vice president look uh uh what I was
Bad.
indigent.
Yeah.
They're not making him look
Yeah.
poor.
To
They're
the
not making him
indigenous.
look,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, like he has nothing.
Yeah.
They're only showing the cheap propaganda. They're only showing the irresponsible nature because
Mhm.
it is the government's responsibility to take care of its statesmen,
Of course.
especially the man who you claim has served the country for 40 plus years.
And Volcano,
Unblemished.
You talk about a system earlier. If we had a system where this man, having worked for Liberia for all of these years, had pension, had retirement, had healthcare coverage, you shouldn't even be talking about going to finance ministry or the government to send him. He already earned that, and that would be used to send him for treatment.
Yeah.
So, because they failed to put that system into place, they're trying to use somebody's ailment to gain political or whatever they want to gain. And that's evil. That's just plain evil. But as you also said earlier, Moses,
Mhm.
anybody can get sick.
Of course.
Anybody can get sick. Anybody can get involved in an accident. And we just saw people involved in an accident, and it was not publicized how much money they used. The Ministry of Information then issue a statement saying Minister Twain and his wife have been flown to uh, Turkey. So why are
No.
you now saying, oh, Baka Seko, and we're going to fly him, we won't fly him, but we want to tell the Liberian people that he really is sick and we need to fly? Why are you even doing that?
For
What?
politics.
But
Yes.
That's all.
if even former vice president is that sick,
Yeah.
platforms of goodwill can raise money for him.
Of
Exactly.
course.
He has friends in high places. He was just in Nigeria the other day. He rode private jet that was sent by one of his friends. They made it a big deal. But this man was not in any governmental capacity. He was just doing his own personal stuff. But the funny thing here is that they look for opportunities to think they can score big. And that's what we're talking about here tonight. The lack of rule of law.
Yeah.
When people circumvent the laws, the policies, the systems that should be in place. If the government and the president want to reach out to the former vice president, there is a protocol.
Mhm.
There's a diplomatic, internal diplomatic protocol to make that happen. You
Yeah.
don't throw it out there and make it seem as it's mere gossip and you just want to talk about it.
Yeah.
You don't do that. Matter of fact, this man, apart from him being a former vice president, he's your contemporary and a strong opposition to you. He is the biggest opposition to you.
Do you?
Come on. There must be some degree of respect. There must be some degree of, fear here.
But Volcano, not to cut you all right. And you asked the question earlier, why? Mr. Walker is the second most powerful person in Liberia. So the government comes out with a statement. Mr. Weah took the phone to call Kev Hansen, the fanatic in the United States, to gossip about this man, to shame the former vice president, to make him appear indigent. Is that good leadership? That pronouncement, that press release that they issued today, it should have been out there yesterday by the Ministry of Information. But you know why they told Legihood to issue that statement today? Because of the backlash that they got from the public. That the president had the audacity to call a little man like Kefansan to gossip about a very prominent citizen of the country. I am told George we are Lex gossip. He called to gossip about the former vice president. And Kefansan embarrassed them yesterday. He came and threw it to the public. That's shameful.
So Moses, let's not continue
Yeah.
in that path. It's
Yeah.
just examples we're giving, but let's come back
Mhm.
to the lack of
Yeah.
rule of
So
law.
yeah. So,
And
mhm.
just before you say something, let me
Yeah.
let
Go
me
ahead.
quickly remind our viewers here that you are watching us here in the Issues Room, the Liberia's alternative social media platform developed to discuss the issues trending out of our country. We try to be as balanced, as very researched and balanced. I know that all of you think that we have political affiliations. No, there's no political bone of me in Liberia. I have no political alignment. I intend not to, because the politics of Liberia now is too filthy for me to, to want to be a part of. Neither I believe Moses, and I'm not going to speak for Alfonso, but he would talk for himself. But
Right.
when we come here, we're coming here to look at the situation, analyze it, and proffer solutions as we go forward. So
Yeah.
we want to encourage you to join us. We're here Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and midnight. And at some point when the time changes, we'll go back to 11 p.m., but we'll remain 7 p.m. as our standard time. We want to welcome Cole Voka Molba, Cole Gloria Voka Molba, Minimi Ajua Joseph. I see a brother here for the first time, Diagbe Zulu. It's good to have you. You asked the question, the vice president was one time in place. Why didn't he help to, put a system in place? I believe the system was there. I don't remember any government coming to do good for people and putting it all out there. The beginning just trying to make sure, that's all. Nubo Fole, we say welcome, my brother. Good to see you, Sam Abu, Flumo Livingstone, and the rest of you guys. Mapu Hall, thank you for joining us. I'm Freeman, Bloja Kono, Raymond Clark, we say welcome. Continue to spread. I see the numbers going out. It's interesting. Continue to chime in as well. We'll open the line at 8:15. We'll be here till 9 o'clock tonight. The conversation we're holding, the lack of rule of law and its impact on the Liberian upcoming elections, presidential and general elections, 2023, October 10th. How will it impact when people are beginning to do things outside of the Constitution, when people are doing things outside of the system, outside of the context of human rights, outside of the context of civility, outside of the context of expectation, outside of the context of code of conduct, outside of the context of building peace and reconciliation. When people are doing things, how do we see it impacting our elections? And are we going to have an election free, fair, and democratic? Because
Yeah.
if we don't have some of these things put in place now, our elections could be marred, and it would be very detrimental for all that we've continued to say. We don't want to go back to war. We want peace. We want peace. Zigwe, all of that. It would
Yeah.
be in vain. So we are not even on the path of ensuring that we're going to have a nice, wonderful, free climate elections when everything is being dragged, all of the different timetable are being pushed, are being pushed, are being pushed. Moses?
Yeah. So I would like to use this opportunity to call the Elections Commission to please tell the president to stop violating the election laws of Liberia. He's already pre-campaigning, and that need to come to an end. So, having said that, I would like to transition to another important matter that also constitutes a violation of the rule of law. That has to do with the suspended Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, Nathaniel McGill. Mr.
And
McGill,
don't forget
yeah.
about that old man. Oh, that old man
Oh,
that was,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Both of
yeah, that
them.
old man that won't be represented. I was taking the children in and said she giving them better life.
Yeah.
Well,
The Maria looking.
okay,
You know,
we'll come to
yeah,
her.
yeah. But you know what? Let's save Magay.
And
Magay will
come to
be the
her.
last person. Let deal with this lady.
Okay.
We're talking about rule of law, right? And you know, Alfonso, Liberia is a very interesting society. Many of you who are familiar with contemporary issues in Liberia, the name Maria Lukin rings bell. This is the woman that between 2009 and 2020 reportedly contributed to the adoption of 550 children under dubious circumstances.
Wow.
People in Europe, people in America. She literally took people, children abroad. Those kids were adopted. The individuals who adopted those kids, they were put under the impression that the kids were orphans. Means that they have lost their parents and they needed help. She went to the parents and told the parents that, hey, your kids need opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing she didn't tell them was that when an individual or when a child is adopted, before the adoption is finalized, the parents must sign the legal right, waiving that legal right. There's going to be termination of parental right, meaning you cannot have no contact with that child anymore. So these kids are abroad. The parents were put under the impression that they came abroad so that they could be better person tomorrow. But the parents have no contact with them. Do you understand the emotional abuse associated with that? Like me, I have a soon to be 12-year-old. Can you imagine, Volcano, if my daughter is raped and taken to China to be adopted by a Chinese family? First, there's going to be language barrier, culture barrier. Do you know how much impact you're going to have on that child to adjust? As a dad, I will also be emotionally disturbed because when I come home, we're having fun together. That gap is going to be created. That contributes to what? Mental health. Now, Maria Lunkin, she operated the West African Children's Support Network. That was the group that was moving kids around. And to tell you how bad Liberia is, in 2020, this woman was held liable by criminal could be at the Temple of Justice. She was charged and convicted for child trafficking. The only thing that remained to be done is to sentence this woman. Since 2020. Since 2020, she was convicted. She's a felon. This woman is a felon. It means that she committed a crime against the state. And guess what? She wants to be representative for District 8.
That's why that's why we say the lack of the rule of law
Oh,
is the reason why we're here tonight. You have these people who
no.
have done heinous crimes in the country,
Yeah.
and they are serving and intending to serve
Yeah.
the nation further,
Mhm.
as if to say, out of the 5 million people, they ain't got good character people. But
No.
these same people continue to reverberate in the system because the system is allowing it
Of course.
because of petty corruption, people buying time
Mhm.
for the crime, and they're hanging out there. And the Liberian people are so gullible. They're so forgiving. Oh, your little woman, man. And the children ain't enjoying. The children ain't
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you
man. The
imagine?
children and someone will be
Yeah.
sending money to their parents soon as they get to know their own parents. What kind
Yeah.
of trouble is this? You know how
Yeah.
we talk.
Yeah.
That's
You,
how we talk. So
you,
let you have my phone so quick before you
yeah.
continue.
Fonso, go ahead.
So,
Yeah.
so the tragedy, the two tragedies about the Maria Lukin situation, the children, which is a
Children.
bigger tragedy.
It's a very big,
A lot of those children are lost.
of
They
course.
might never ever get in contact with their parents.
No.
And the sad part about it is, we don't even know what those people who adopted the kids are doing to the kids.
But in
No.
fact, there was a story that'll cut you off.
Yeah,
I think some of the kids were in Oklahoma City, in the state of
yeah,
Oklahoma, where they
mhm,
were maltreated,
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
maltreated.
yeah, yeah.
And sometimes in these adoption situations, you could be sending your child to a pedophile.
Of
Yes,
course. Yeah. Hmm.
exactly.
You could be
Those are
sending
the
a child
people who
to
go
a
out
child
there.
molester, and these are the
Those are
kinds
the
of people.
people who go out there
Yeah,
looking for kids
yeah, they're
Yeah.
to
masquerading.
buy
They're
and to
masquerading to
own.
be
Mhm.
able to take care of
Yes,
those kids. So
Mhm.
Moses, she wants to run for representative.
Yeah. She
So
wants. She wants a Carlos grade. A
a
seat.
job.
Representative. Yeah.
So
Great.
She
that
want a
so
Carlos
there's
great
the
job.
oth-
Hmm.
yeah, so there's the other problem with it. As
Hmm.
Moses, as you said, she was convicted,
Yeah.
pending now
Sentencing.
sentencing.
Hmm.
This woman hasn't been sentenced. Why? That's
Because
point
the
number one.
Liberal.
Yeah, well, and now she's running for office. But
Hmm.
here's the bigger picture that I want us to go to. The bigger picture, and somebody said I heard two of the kids were beaten to death in Texas. That's
See
that's
that?
even sad. Yeah, that's
Very
even
sad situation.
yeah. But it's a bigger picture, and you guys raised the issue about accountability, rule of law.
A rule of law.
A country that doesn't have rule of law goes through these kinds of things. Point number one, let's look at what's happening. Who are our senators and representatives and our big shots in Liberia today? The very people who were actually butchering people.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived throughout the war in Liberia. I, on July 2nd, fell behind MPFL territory.
Wow.
Yes, I was on Ominga and then I was on Fender throughout. I mean, I saw people being killed in front of me. I
Hmm.
saw their bodies lying in the streets without a crossover. Who are the people who are our senators, representatives, police officials, and all of these people today? The
Hmm.
people who committed those crimes.
Yeah.
That's the bigger impunity picture. So others are saying, and then there's the second impunity picture and second impunity chapter in our history post Civil War. So we had a group of young guys and people who jumped from here, went through the Ellen government, and also got wealthy overnight. Nothing happened to them. So this group is saying, "Oh, my friend who I was working with, who our friends were other day, he became millionaire. He's there now. Something. I go in the government. That our time. That
Hmm.
our time to get rich and to make money and to get wealthy too." So there's a culture of impunity in Liberia
Yeah.
that needs to be arrested and addressed. And until that happens, we continue down the road. And these corrupt people will continue to hold our future and our children's future. They will do everything to make sure that that they hold it and they keep it.
Hmm.
One of the things to do in the legislature is They gave themselves every 3 months, 4 months, $60,000, $70,000. So they go and say, "Oh, I build school in my community. I pay children tuition. I buy zinc for people." Those same people continue to vote for them. Whose money are they giving to the people? Whose money are they campaigning with? Let's go back to the issue you were talking about the cars. Liberian people money.
Of course.
So we give them $60,000, $70,000 every 4 or 5 months. So they go to say, "I build university in my district. I build school. I pay children school fees. I buy zinc for people. I kill cow." Then the people vote for them. So they continue to be perpetuated in power on the Liberian people's dime, on the Liberian people's resources. That brings us to the bigger picture of accountability. Without accountability, we just continue going down the drain. How do we get to accountability? How do we get to the point where we say, "No, Mr. Representative, that's 60,000, that's 70,000. You get it, and then you come to the community and give $500 to a school, and you think you're doing us good? You're not doing us good. That money could have been appropriated to the school in the first place."
Mhm.
So the teachers get paid. So the students get the school gets the instructional materials, that they need. But you're paying teacher $50, $75 a month, but the representative gives the 13, $15,000 and also $60,000 every quarter. And he goes and gives something and put a school and says so and so somebody
A big
university
school.
or school or
Mhm.
whatever. Our system, our society is broken, it's corrupt. And I think you guys are doing a wonderful job. And one other point I want to make around, election violence and all of that thing is that I hope and want to suggest that you guys really continue to run a series around political and election violence, because the coming elections, I think, are extremely critical. They will
Very
determine,
critical.
yeah, they will determine where our country goes. I remember sometime in the 1990s, I believe it was Herman Cohen, U.S. Honor Secretary of State for African Affairs, who said that if the war is allowed to enter Monrovia, Liberia will go 100 years behind. Those who were supportive of the war, who wanted quote unquote change, would say, "Oh, let him go and go say that, man. Wait a minute, 1 year behind." They probably were thinking that somehow the streets would be uprooted, the buildings would be turned upside down, villages would reappear. No, what he meant was our
And
brains
the
and the
system
system.
will
And
be
I can
broken.
tell you that our brains, I mean, you talk about journalists earlier and what they write and say. Volcano, you did. I, 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 I cringe when I hear people who call themselves journalists speaking or writing, or I
Oh,
read their stuff.
Yeah. Mhm.
I cringe when newsmakers say something and they don't follow up with questions, or they go follow up with questions and don't even ask the right question, or can't even speak the English.
no, hold there. The one that bothers me. Say,
Yeah,
care to tell us,
yeah,
care to tell us. What do you mean care to
Yeah,
tell
you
us?
can't
yeah.
tell
Wait,
us.
we
What is
got,
that phrase in
yeah,
questioning? Care to
yeah,
tell us. I
yeah.
Instead
want
of
you to
put,
tell me. I ain't asking you
yeah,
for your
So
permission.
can't
care to
tell
tell
us.
me. What if I don't care to
Yeah,
tell you?
yeah,
Then what
I
happens?
will not say nothing. I say,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
my man,
That's
I
the
don't
kind of
have to
Yeah,
say
question you need to
nothing.
ask
You
yeah.
say
I
if I
don't
care
care.
to
all
tell
of
us.
these
Do you
part
care to tell us?
journalists
No, I
around here.
don't
Care
care
to
to
tell
tell
us. Every day, where your final word? Where your final word? You
us.
need to put a final word, and
you
you need
you
to
get
ask
it,
Yeah,
the
man. The
final word
final well
question.
question.
You know,
yeah.
and
When
it
we
bothers
did
me.
journalism, we were taught, hey,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't just report.
man.
You do not just report. You analyze. You ask questions. You
Intelligent
interpret.
questions, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but here, this is where we are. So yes, guys, I know you have to go to the phones and get calls in.
Yeah, but
As
I
you
just
said,
wanted to add this
we,
little
we, we
small
still
piece
got a
here,
lot to
and
cover.
and,
Yeah,
and
go
this
ahead.
this this piece that you mentioned regarding the example where they take the money and go back the 60, $70,000.
yeah,
Today in Liberia, while you have a lot of people saying that they build us, the electrician, the this and that, because the guy who went to the school of trade and learned the job, he didn't want to touch the job again. He didn't want to do the job because it comes by right. He's still supposed to keep up, right?
Of
So
Mm-hmm.
course,
now
you
he
need
take
to
a few boys.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah, when
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming, he take a few boys. He
Mm-hmm.
takes the contract, and then he takes all the money. He leaves these boys to work,
Mm-hmm.
and then and there's no redress in Liberia. The man supposed to put a wall here. He can't. He put a wall this place. When you come, you the owner. He said, "My man, why you put a wall? Oh, chief, I thought you would like it here. What you mean? I would like it? Is that my? You building my house
So
because I
I
that's
didn't
give
make
why
the
I
decision.
give you my
Yeah,
play and you go
yeah,
by your own play.
yeah. You
a
can't call
rule
me.
of
And Moses,
rule of
because
law.
I've done a lot of construction work in Liberia, I'm telling you
Yeah.
real story, right? The man makes his decision without even consulting you, and there's no
Wow.
redress. So you probably will spend another thousand or $2,000
To
for
tear
that
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 whole thing
error.
down.
You're gonna correct. You're gonna
Wow.
correct. But the funny
Wow.
thing here is that these guys take the job, right?
Hmm.
He takes the job, and then he wants to give the boss little thing. And so
Yeah.
the children now feel like, oh, I did all the work, and the chief, the man, he won't compensate well. So then he tells him, but you're learning. So the beginner said, okay, if we're learning, then we'll do the job ourselves. Then they'll come behind them. They will go to the meat chief,
Can you imagine?
the house owner and say, boss man, we can do the work. And you see that we don't want to do the work. Don't fire that man. Don't- So that's that's what's going on in Liberia.
Well,
So Volcano, that's
Yeah,
what. Where does that take us, brother? That
nowhere.
takes us to the system that you talk about.
yeah, no
We
system.
need to create a system. If you get a contractor here, they advise you there's a better business bureau.
Hmm.
There's a certification system to certify carpenters and masoners and all of that. So when you they tell you when you want to get an electrician, a masoner, or carpenter, find someone who was certified who has a license. Those people who are certified, who have licenses, have insurance. If they mess up player, they put your wall in a different place or they break something down,
Okay,
they
I love
would
bro.
pay. Yeah, but no, I agree with you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
no, yeah, I know what
but
goes on here.
but the point
But
I'm making is
yeah,
the reason all of that happens in Liberia is one, this even no system. We're not
no
even
system,
moving in the
no
direction of
system,
building a
no
system.
system.
Mhm.
We
Let me
we
let
don't
me
even care. We don't even care.
yeah, let me open the line 404-272-2808. 404-272-2808. Call, be a part of the conversation. What impact is the lack of rule of law on our elections, our upcoming elections, 2023, October 10th? We're seeing what's happening in the country every day. Every day, people doing what they want to do, their own thing, no accountability. That's what we're talking about, and how will it play on the outcome of our elections. So please call 404-272-2808. So Moses, let's go back to the woman before you go to Mike Joe. So the
Mariam
woman
Lincoln.
wants to be representative,
Yeah,
and
District
she's
8.
a felon.
She's
And
a
I
felon.
just want
Yeah.
to do a quick summary now. She's a felon,
He is a fellow.
She
If he
is.
was
Yeah.
convicted,
She,
she's a felon.
you
and
know,
it's just a matter of throwing her in jail.
yeah,
But
it's just a matter of horse
and
being
this has been
sentenced
since 2020. We're in
since
20, so
2020.
3 years ago, the criminal code B handed down its judgment, but the
Yeah.
enforceability factor now from the executive to make sure
No,
that
not even at the level of the executive yet.
and the police got to carry
No,
her.
no,
No, the
she was
judiciary
Oh,
has
convicted.
okay,
its sentence.
She was convicted.
okay,
Now they need to come to say, hey, we're sending you to jail for felony.
yeah.
The minimum is a year. The minimum. Anyone who serves more than 1 year, you commit a crime against the state, that's felony. So uh the court now is supposed to come and say, look, based on what we gathered and the conviction, this is the length of time that you're going to serve in prison. But again, given how corrupt our criminal justice system is, can you imagine? 3 years.
So they have not spelled out the
Nothing.
punishment.
They
Okay,
have
all
never
right,
sentenced the woman to prison. No.
okay.
So
So let's
She
so
move
when
on to
she
walking
my
was
deal.
around now. Yeah.
yeah,
So let's
so
move
when
on
she
to my
was
deal.
convicted,
She
did
was convicted
so why didn't she go to jail immediately?
because of Labra.
She filed bond or something? Okay.
No.
She filed an appeal or something?
Uh,
No, it's
probably,
just a
probably,
matter of sentencing the woman.
probably
Okay.
it's a
Like
combination of
yeah,
many things.
like yeah,
I
they
think
will
Moses.
prosecute you. they convict you, then they set a time for what? Sentencing. Now what you waiting for?
And the sentencing we can
It
get to
will
the
never
sentencing.
come
All
because
right.
of the bureau.
Okay, the number again is 404
Okay.
2808. We have Alfonso Yeno here with us, a Liberian journalist, social and justice advocate, human rights advocate, Johnny Else, Moses, and myself here tonight. We encourage you to call. Tell us what you think about the lack of rule of law and its impact on our upcoming elections. How will it play out? Will we have a free and fair elections, especially what we see happening on a day-to-day basis in the country? We'd like to hear from you. We shouldn't spend a lot of time on Nathaniel McGill. Everyone
Yeah,
knows
yeah,
he wants to be
yes, yeah.
senator.
So
So,
so
yes,
quickly,
so just
Nathaniel
just
McGill.
just whitewash it quick.
Yeah, let me whitewash it.
Put some
Nathaniel
whitewash on it.
McGill is walking around Monrovia. In fact, I shouldn't say Monrovia. Walking around Liberia, portraying himself as a millionaire. And everywhere he goes, he throws money here and there. But this man was coerced to leave government. It took the Americans to tell you how incompetent George Weah is. It took the Americans to say McGill is not a good person. We don't want this man in government. This man is not a governmental material. He was accused of what? Engaging in acts that had the propensity on undermining Liberian peace and stability. Predicated on that, George Weah was coerced to ask him what? To resign. Now, Alfonso, you being around legal people, if McGill believes that he has committed no crime, right? Don't you think he should be the one, McGill, Serena Seaford, Bill Torway? Don't you think they should be the one that's taking the Liberian government to court? That, hey, our rights are being abused. We are being suspended. We were coerced to resign. And Mr. President, you said an investigation was going to be here to determine whether we were culpable of the crimes that we're accused of. Yet, while not paying attention to that, Nathaniel McGill wants to be senator. He forgets to know that the state or the Treasury Department says, well, anyone who does business with McGill, Bill Tuaway, and Serena Seaforth run the risk of what? Also being sanctioned. So what is he going to do in the Senate? The
So
work of a senator, the work of a representative is what? There are three cardinal responsibilities: lawmaking, oversight, and representation.
yeah.
How will somebody accused of engaging in criminal activities provide oversight in the Senate, make law for the people of Magibi? Eh?
Yeah.
And how,
So
oh, yeah.
yeah. So here is it.
Mhm.
So
Let me
I
let me
mean,
play a quick clip. Let
You
me
want
just
to play
try
the
to
video over here? Yeah.
let me just try to introduce. Yeah, just a quick clip here. Go ahead. Be talking, Alfonso, because Moses
so
asked you
so
something.
definitely here's a bigger picture, and you guys really put your thumb on the problem. And the
Mhm.
problem is the lack of rule of law, right? The
Absolutely.
lack of
Mhm.
rule of law. So these in even before the U.S. government, the U.S. Department of Treasury came up to sanction these guys, it was reported multiple times in the Liberian media regarding the corruption that they were involved in, the company that they formed to take the, in fact, Huawei, for example. There was an individual who arrested who actually fled to the United States, and there was this issue about at the at the port of Buchanan where money was stolen, etc. The company that they formed, to replace whatever company was existing there to manage the port of Buchanan and steal all of the money that is stole. So everything was in the public limelight. But go ahead, sorry.
Mhm. Yeah.
No, I
Go
told you are
ahead.
playing the video already. Oh, so
Okay.
every
Not giving 10
I
to
was
play the
trying to,
video.
video
but I
already.
don't. We kind of
It's not
freezing. I don't know
opening.
what's the deal.
Okay.
All
But
right.
at least the people
So
saw
so
the
the
caption.
No, not
Okay.
that it's
government
Go
not
of
ahead.
the,
opening.
At least.
I'm noticing.
yeah, it's not
Okay.
working.
Okay.
I just wanted him to finish his sentence.
Okay, so let me.
Oh, okay.
No,
Oh
I
yeah,
it will play, but I just wanted him to finish up.
who me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the two things here: the U.S. government issues sanctions and made specific
All right,
allegations.
okay, okay,
It,
you come to it. You come to it. Let me just roll it. I don't know
yeah,
why it's doing this. Okay.
yeah.
So we have been from in the moment for now. Honorable Miller McGill. The Robert International Airport. And he will be support us. Welcome him after being for several weeks. And so this is what's happening at the Roberts International Airport here. As we all with the arrival. We can talk to some of the supporters here who have come to welcome our political leader. Amanda, 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 Maggie, Amanda, Maggie, Amanda. I just want to about my new song to Honorable Mange. Welcome back, Honorable Mange. My new song, my brother. Yes, sir. Welcome to Spoon TV. Okay. Yeah, highly welcome to sir. Happy New Year. Many happy returns. So what's I need money from my friend called me Success Mange. Okay, Success Mange. Can you yes, sir. What are you doing here at the Roberts International Airport? Where are we doing here at the airport? Yeah, but how are you? Oh, this is yeah, our senator are coming on here, and also the president of Mangidi County. We are waiting for a round to be at the airport, so we should tell you and welcome you and tell you Happy New Year and tell you thank you because for a good job that you have done in the country. One, I want to name one. We are happy for the road to Woru to Kakatan. Our parents, our sisters, our children are going to school. They suffer on the road day and night. Our mothers are going to school. For you, for week, for today, they are all of go quick and come out and quick. They will just have now due to the road network that Honorable Mange, Honorable Mange, are going. So this is why we came to thank you. And not all. They will say thank you. And so the three counties, and not even Magidi alone. Yeah, Magidi. Yeah, so that's Success McGill.
As we are concerned, McGill has no opposition. I'm listening to McGill. This is the first gathering we had. The last time rally we had in Smith Notice, where we had in Wayala, we want to give you one as well. And the McGill name is a brand. Go to Gibi Road. The road that has not been done for the last 30 years has now been done. Before then, they take one into Canada. Go to Wayala. Market kitchens have been renovated. Go to Smith Notice. Of course, market kitchens have also been renovated. What more can we say? They're just one of the smallest gatherings. Welcome, Senator McGill, because we restricted this only to district number 2. That's why. Otherwise, the play would have been flooded. And there are a couple of events will be giving the their market is going to register of to the process.
Yeah. So that. So, folks, wherever you're watching us from, this is Spoon Television
Yeah.
Live. My name is Francis Antigua. And I'm
Yeah.
here bringing you live coverage on
So I'm trying to
the
yeah,
arrival of the former
Yeah.
minister of
yeah,
state.
this stuff.
And now I'm hopeful of Mangi the County in person of Honorable Natano Farimaki,
We
who,
can cut down.
who will
Oh,
be arriving in
these
Liberia
these
any
beautiful
moment from
guys that
now.
when they talk to you too, then you got problem.
Yeah. Thank you. Hmm. The video won't go.
Yeah, it's okay.
My girl, please.
My
Hi,
girl,
my man.
my girl won't be sending that out, guys.
My girl said, my man, my video can go.
Go ahead, Moses.
Yeah, but look, Alfonso was saying that it tells you if you look at the individuals that show up at the airport, I'm sure Alfonso, you will agree. Just from looking at the people, right? I would say 70 to 80% of the individuals that show up at that airport were all young adults. I would put them between, 20 to maybe
30.
35 or so. Yeah. And these are the people that make up what our youth population. So,
65%. 65%. 15
yeah.
to
Mhm.
35. Yes.
Yeah. So, Nathaniel McGill and other politicians, they prey on our people. They take advantage of our people. They exploit our people for their own political, gratification. That's what they do. McGill committed, allegedly committed a very heinous crime. If it took America to make George Weah to remove him, then it means that Mr. Weah himself realized that, hey, this man, there's something that is not right. Right? Because, Alfonso, if you work for a company, your boss is not going to suspend you if there are no legal basis for doing that. Your boss will not say, I am going to terminate you or I am going to ask you to resign if there are no legal basis for that. And this is the man who wants to be senator of Magibi County. The question now is, what is he taking to the Senate?
Yeah,
The
so
rule of
Moses,
law. Yeah.
when you look at the context under which all of this is taking place, is because we say again it's the lack of the rule of law.
Yeah.
If a man who served the country for only 5 years can build roads, can give thousands of dollars scholarships, can build a mausoleum for his mom, a home, can pave the road from Robertsfield Highway by cement all the way to his compound in the VOA area, and have homes, businesses, offshores, bank accounts. And that man who they say is a former big man in the county saying that McGill has no opposition. They've already declared him to be the
Yeah.
senator.
Oh, yeah.
But look at the crowd out there. It's a bunch of young children.
Young people.
Moses, I continue to say when I was a lad into my teenage year, I never remember me running the streets to cheer any politician. I was busy in school trying to be like a politician, learning so I can have a space, so I can have a place, so I can have a means of taking over from that politician rather than focus on the politician's well being, focus on the politician's victory, total position, leaving myself undone. What they're going to walk away from that Hudson, the man who say he call himself Super McGill or something, he looks like he's so hungry he barely drank water.
Yeah.
He's out of breath. He's fatigued. The only thing they're all going to leave from that place with would be the t-shirts.
The t-shirts.
And it forms part of the wardrobe.
And the little thing they would give them for pocket change. That's all.
So that's the sad part. And this is the reason why we're having these kinds of conversation. And I tell you, as we're talking, the next topic for next week, way powerful than this, Moses. And we'll talk after
Okay.
everything. It just came to mind.
Okay.
How it impacts the elections. Again, this is what it's about. We're going to have this series of conversations. So we see now that the failure of the government, the judiciary, all of the branches of government taking action for wrongdoings in the
Yeah.
country.
Mhm.
Huh? That's why people like Miguel can have, I will use the word tonight, the balls.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Have the
Yeah.
balls
To walk around.
to go out of the country and come back. And where did he go? The man just wanted to create crowd at all. So he said, let me go sit down in Ghana small. While coming back, I was saying something on
Yeah.
100,000, let the man change it.
Yeah. And then, man, put
So I
people in the street. Yeah.
put the biggest crowd. He trying to say he pulled crowd more than Henry
Yeah.
Costa. Because
Yeah.
I heard in the other day talking crowd, who put the biggest crowd. Even the president now paying for crowd.
Of course.
So that's what I said earlier. When I'm going to Liberia next year, I mean, not next year, this year, because we're in the new year. When I'm going to Liberia this year, I send him a little small 10G. Let my people then change it and take all the people from anywhere they can be there on your calendar.
You're bringing people out, pay for
Yeah,
it.
the eruptible is coming to town. The issues
Yeah,
room is
yeah.
arriving.
Yeah, you
Let me
come
have
and
my own
welcome.
crowd too.
Come welcome the issues room.
Yeah, let me have my own crowd too. Get my few less security man. And I'll call. Yeah, get call over. I say, my man,
Yeah.
give me some of your
You
man.
tell me I want some security people. How much? Oh wow. You know, they
But
paying the
it's-
people
it's-
$75 a month, right? You say, look, my man, I'm gonna be in the country just for a month. I will pay each of my security, guys, $150.
At 2,000 pay, 2,000 pay. Let me have my own crowd too. Send out a new thing now. Everybody won't crowd. You pay for
Yeah.
people to come to the airport to receive you. But this is a serious matter, Moses.
Very serious. It's
And this is
laughable,
the
but it's
lack of
very
rule of
serious.
law.
Yeah.
Because between me and you, Moses, here in this country, where do you see politicians going anywhere and the people go stay in front of the airports around here?
No, nobody
In
cares.
fact, when your family come for you, the car can't even barely park. The police already
They say, it says so
keep
you have
moving,
to move.
keep moving. Yeah, in the Philadelphia area, when your flight delay a little bit and the person don't want to come back home, they have a way of hanging around the airport, on the shoulder.
Yeah, before you get to the airport, you park somewhere around there.
Yeah, rival.
Yeah,
The rival
yeah,
route. People
yeah.
go hang down. The police come to get you out of there.
Oh yeah, you're not
Needless
supposed
to
to
say,
do
you got crowd in the whole airport standing
yeah.
around the place for no reason.
that. For no reason.
Why these people are so less business, Moses? Why they got nothing to do?
No,
How will this country go forward? The people barely work to develop the country. Moses, the
Volcano, the
workforce
thing
in
is
Liberia-
business, my man. Don't get it wrong. The
No,
thing.
but the workforce in Liberia is delivering nothing.
Yeah.
The people get the job, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, they're going to lunch. Even in public institutions, you go there to get business done, you got to wait around. They
Wow.
say, oh, the woman going to lunch, yo, she got a key to the office. Can you imagine that? I've been to places where they say the big woman going for lunch and she got a key to the office, so I should go come back.
Hmm.
So when the big person leaves the office, rather, it
Then the
means
whole
that
place shut down. Yeah.
service to the public shuts down, and this is government institution.
Yeah.
But man, we don't have a workforce. That thing the guy over there, they're not workforce. People go to work as they feel, leave as they feel.
The rule of law.
How will
Nobody
this
cares.
country develop? How did we get to this place, to this point? How?
You know, Volcano, all I can say what we're discussing tonight is a profound problem. It's all over the country,
And listen,
everywhere you go.
and these are the kind of comments that can take up my navel. The woman says here, you guys who are to make the country go far are sitting here in America. You know what the word sitting means?
Now,
The
do
word
not be-
sitting means that we just in the corner, we're doing nothing. Ajua Joseph, we're not sitting. We're having these kinds of conversation because it's our contribution. I bet you if George Weah calls me right now and said, Mr. Shelton, I want to use your expertise, which era would be preferable? And I tell him it's based on my competencies and qualification. Here's my resume. This is the era, and let me do my job. Just pay me for my value.
Damn.
And you will hear the impact I will make. I don't have to be minister. I can just have a department within the ministry. Because as I set the tune in that ministry, the minister himself will come to learn from me.
Of course.
The minister will see something happening. But it can't happen in Liberia because everybody must scoop to the power of the day. So there is nothing that you can go there and operate in your own strength, in your own discipline, in your own intelligence and impact a special place. The first thing to say, don't bring that American thing here. But it's not an American thing
It's
because I
system you
lived in
want to
Liberia
build.
and I worked in Liberia before coming to America. What America has done is to provide more accountability in what I do,
Yeah.
more structure in what I do, make me more disciplined, make me more refined, make me understand that learning is a lifelong instrument.
Yeah.
That when you hold a position, it doesn't mean because you're now at the head of leadership, so it stops. That's what America has done, that insatiable desire to continue to learn. So we're not just sitting in America because we're obliged to sit here. We're sitting here because the order of the day does not give us the opportunity or create an environment. If you don't align with any political institution in a political party or a government in power, then you have no hope.
Absolutely.
The government does not have any criteria for going for its think tank citizens across the world.
Mhm.
Look at the formation of George Weah government. Look at it. Look at the formation of George Weah government. I'm not saying everyone is an idiot, but for the majority of those who are running the country,
Yeah,
they also,
idiots.
if even they had good intentions, they have to shower him with praises. They have to heal him. And
But
that's
look,
why our country, I'm afraid, it's not going anywhere.
but Volcano, uh, did you listen to Louis Brown when he spoke during the news conference regarding We Are Tired campaign? Did you hear him say
And
that
and
in
and and,
order?
and let me say this too.
Yeah,
Minimi Ajwa Joseph, you need to take the phone and call this number and make your point. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Make your point. Don't sit there and say why we don't go, why you don't go, or why you don't call to say this is what I want to put
I want
forth.
to do. Yeah,
You need to call and tell us what you're thinking, and we'll share that. This is not about Volcano. This is not about Moses, the issues room.
no,
This is about Liberia. And so when we're talking from a collective perspective. So we need you to call as well. But many of you won't call because you have political alignment. You're too afraid to speak
to a friend. So
because you think your job, you won't get your job when the time comes in Liberia. I don't need no job in Liberia. I already trying to retire.
Okay.
I'm tired of working,
Oh,
and so I don't even want to be bothered.
you done.
And so I say this in honest truth. I'm tired. I want to be retiring soon. Get rid of this.
And sit back in Liberia and just do your thing. But head,
What do I in Liberia? I mean, you can still live here and still enjoy your life, man. You want to go to a place where you need high fence? You want to go
yeah,
to a
but man,
place where it's
you're
easy,
scared to
easy
sleep in
breathing?
your own house, my man.
Breathing, Moses.
yeah.
The
But
Liberia,
look,
let me tell you something. The Liberia that we're gonna live in and have uh, a good life, and to retire is not now. It's not now, and that's why I read that prophecy from
yeah,
you know
it's good that you read that.
Archbishop Francis. Yeah, this is not
Yeah.
not this Liberia. We can do what we want to do because it's lawful country. We show up there, but quite frankly, the arrangement now in Liberia is not feasible.
Yeah.
It's not. And anyone who doesn't believe it, go there. And everyone who goes there for the first time, they want to come out of there in 2 weeks. Some of them cut the trip short. I speak with people every day that go.
Yeah. And before we wrap the show, I just want to say this.
And I don't know what happened, Alfonso. His
Uh,
network
yeah,
probably.
maybe he has some network problem. But what I wanted to say for Canada is that everything that we have said, they are very critical for the elections, the general presidential elections. Everything that we're talking about here are very critical. Other than that, unless we have adherence to the electoral laws, we run the risk of having conflict in our country. They need to critically decide who is qualified to run for an elected office in that country or not. Maria Lukin wants to be representative. Nathaniel McGill, an accused criminal, wants to be senator in Magibi County. The man who they accused of engaging in acts that undermines Liberia's ability to thrive wants to be senator. You have a president who uses the country's money for his personal benefit. Man, we must be joking, man. You have an elections commission that is compromised. The others should be out of that commission by now. So there are a lot of things that need to be done before October. And I think it's time for the Liberian people to begin to ask for some of these corrective measures. The president must be held accountable. He can't use the people money. The money the government is paying, he can't take credit for it. Because that's not his personal money. Magay, the laws are clear. You are being accused. Instead of wanting to be senator, you should not be telling Mr. Weir to allow you to go to court to prove to prove your innocence. You accused me of this crime. I didn't do anything. He should be asking the government, say, hey, we need to go through the process. Instead of dishing $1 or $2 over there. Mayara, you should be now negotiating with the court so that you can go and serve your time. You need to serve time for the crime committed. Child trafficking is a serious offense. And you want to be representative? Come on, man. Our people must be serious in that country.
But Moses, and that's why sometimes we're not gonna get tired doing what we do,
No.
because it's not about the people who see the glass half full and say it's full. It's not about the people who are in the box and feel that in the box is the best place. It's about the people who are voiceless, the people who are indigent to the point that they've lost hope,
Mhm.
the 300,000 young people who future is gleamed by the participation in the war, and as a result of the same running behind warlords who preached to them that they were uh, oppressed and that they needed a liberator. And those same liberators are back. A fugitive, Prince Johnson, ran out of Liberia, went with nothing, came back with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Today he's a kingmaker,
Yeah.
and he sits there and beats his chest. Nothing gonna happen.
Yeah.
Um, there's so many of them. We just talked about Funati Kofa, who
Mm-hmm.
was considered man of integrity
Yeah, men of integrity. Yeah.
by a funny online platform.
Yeah.
Um, but all that we're doing it because we can't get tired.
No.
You see, I equate what we do with the preacher man. The preacher man takes to the podium and he's called to preach the gospel. Whether he wins sinners or saves sinners or not, he cannot stop doing that because the devil is strong as well. The devil has power, right?
Of
So he
course.
has a grip on people. And so all the preacher man can continue to do is to proclaim the gospel and to proclaim salvation.
Mhm.
Because if he is not statuated enough to keep his hand to the plow, like the Bible says, he who puts his hand to the plow must keep his hand to the plow, right?
Mhm.
And if if the preacher man cannot continue to be steadfast, then it defeats the purpose. So what I'm saying here, the analogy I'm making here, you and I have to be steadfast, irrespective of how people perceive the conversation. Because our conversation is not to please.
No.
It's not to win the crowd. It's not to jeer the crowd. It is to impart knowledge. It is to enlighten. It is for us to share a light, shed a light on what is trending. Because a lot of the people who come to the platform, they don't even know what is trending on a day-to-day basis. And even if they got a hint of the story, it's gossip. And even if they didn't get a hint of the story, it's perceptive. So that is why we come here to lay it out in plain cards. So the ones who will take this knowledge can benefit. They can use the same knowledge and disseminate, become crusaders.
Of course.
So in our capacity, we can never shrink from this responsibility, irrespective. We don't get paid for it.
That's
We go
true.
in our own pockets to do what we do, and we're doing it because there are many thousands of Liberians, if not millions, who need to hear us, who need to feel, the conversation in ways that they can begin to start thinking and say, wait a
Absolutely.
minute, I didn't see it this way.
Mhm.
I didn't know this was happening. Oh, now you enlighten me. Now you're telling me. Now I see it. I talked to somebody the other day. They said they're tired of voting. I said, why? They said because they won't vote for.
No benefit.
Yeah, they won't. They want that in power that we voted for. I just won't just forget it. Whoever win that, I said no. If you want to change the one
It's
that
time to decide.
you
Yeah.
gotta go and change the next one. And then we went on talking and said, oh, you know what? I didn't see it that way, but thank you for letting me know. I'm going to vote they want other power because you and your family vote are important.
Of course. Very
You know.
critical.
So I just thought to throw this out here so that people will understand that we're not here because we ain't got nothing to do. No, no, no. We got something to do, and this is what we're doing. To throw light. That's what we say in the issues room. We discuss the things that matter. We are the alternative. We don't come here to play fun. We come here to have great conversation. We try to find the most intelligent people that we bring here to hold these conversations with us. And I think our man Alfonso did extremely well. Moses, because we got
Yeah,
five.
he did a great job.
Moses did Alfonso did
Alfonso.
extremely well.
Yeah.
We'll bring Alfonso back so he can have a full share of the conversation. In fact, he will be utilized for the next conversation that I was trying to tell you. and
Okay.
we'll discuss it right after the show. Don't go away. We'll stay back in studio and have a quick conversation.
Okay.
But we got to hold this series of conversation. We'd like to welcome you, Michael Salif from West Africa, Liberia. It's good to see you, my brother. Welcome to the Issues Room. Sorry you came a little late. We'll be wrapping up, or maybe you just chanting because you could have been here longer than that. But we have to have this conversation because we all have waited so long. Someone said that I thought 6 years would never end, and now we're in the sixth year.
That's true.
So we're in the sixth year, and we got to do it right.
Hmm.
We got to do it right, Moses.
I agree. Absolutely. We got to do it right at all time. We have to. And there is the time for that right decision to be made. In order to make the right decision, we have to learn to adhere to every aspect of the rule of law regarding the election, voters registration, adhering to to the laws on when campaign starts and when campaign ends. Why pre-campaigning is not good. Why it is not good to use state resources at the disadvantage of other candidates, like the president is doing now. All of these things we need to talk about there. Volcano. Our people need to be educated, because unless we start having this discussion, there are people in Lofa, there are people in Nima who will believe that John Weah is such a rich man that he can just throw things to people.
And no, disregard the word rich. I think the word generosity,
Yeah, a very
because
generous man. Yeah,
yeah, he's so generous. Oh yeah,
yeah,
the man, too good.
yeah. The man giving things. I
Yeah,
know that your own
and,
money.
you're taking the people money.
Yeah.
But Moses, I want to say thank you, man. We out of time. Thomas Awaji, thank you so much. You're right. It was another great conversation, but I think the one next week will top this one. I mean Tuesday. So let's hope that we can get the right panel in place. Michael Sirleaf, thanks for joining us. Minimin Ajwa Joseph, it was good having you back. You've been gone for a while. Come back and throw in bomb here, but welcome, welcome, welcome. Adiaha in Umor out there in Australia, we say thank you for joining us. G. Gwen John Smith, good to see you. Let's go down the list. Eric Pearson, S. Edward Nefor, Sam Abu, Sam Bondo, um, Mapu Hall, Flomo Livingstone, Gloria, Vocal Moba, Bennett O'Connor, Diagwe Zulu, Noah Foley, Amma Freeman, and all you wonderful good people, including Raymond Clark, Arthur Tarty, Senior Bloger Kono. We say thank you ever so much for your viewership. Alvin T. Penu, Maria Gardell, thanks to all of you for joining us here, including our man Francis Donor Sr. Moses,
Thank you.
you have a good one. As I said, stay back. I'll be with you shortly. All
Sure,
right?
sure. Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone. Good night and have a good weekend. We'll be back here, Volcano, Shelton, Moses, Sandy, the 121st edition of the Issues Room. We say thank you again. We cannot overstate it. Thank you so much.